All right, great to have you. Welcome to the program. Thanks. It's the Joe Pags Show. 1-800-383-9624, joepags.com. Glad to have you along for the ride. There's a lot going on today, and I certainly want to expand upon what we're talking about. We're going to spend some time on this, obviously. It was the first presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And quite frankly, it was not, in my opinion, what we thought it would be. It was, I think, quite the contrary. I think that Donald Trump coming out and saying, Secretary Clinton, is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? I want you to be happy. Is that okay? It was just it was odd to me. Just call her Secretary Clinton and move on. And you could almost hear the strategy sessions. You could almost hear them where they say, okay, call her Secretary Clinton. That'll come off as respectful, and she really can't attack you on that. And instead of just doing it, then he asks over, is that okay? Is that all right? Is that okay? And at that point, I'm like, no, stop. Just do it and then move on. Yeah. I think that's probably the best bet. Just do it and then move right on. And that isn't really what ended up happening. And he was respectful, more respectful than she was. She called him Donald the whole time, where I think that comes off as disrespectful, unless you're the left-wing liberal media, and then you think that comes off as somehow respectful. She called him Donald the entire time. She attacked him over and over and over again, and there really wasn't any recourse. You weren't going to get any fact-checking out of Lester Holt. I don't care what he's registered as. You weren't going to get any pushback from him. Brian just wrote me, and he's right. He enabled her to do anything she wanted to do last night. I do, though, again, about her health, I felt she walked gingerly afterwards. I think there's something going on there. She was wearing another muumuu, albeit a little bit tighter than the recent ones, but still plenty of room underneath that for something to be going on. He did very well by saying that she was tired or she wasn't on the campaign trail. She wasn't out there getting it done like he was getting it done. I mean, it's absolutely true. And, her response to that was strange, in my opinion. Her response was, well, yes, are you somehow attacking because I took time off to prepare for this debate? And it's really kind of how she phrases things. I found that to be weird. I did. I found it to be weird. I found the entirety of it to be just a little bit odd and maybe a little bit more subdued. Now, television, you're wondering, what am I doing? Taking out another keyboard. The whole thing was just a little bit weird to me. And I'm not really sure why, to be honest with you. I think that Donald Trump probably was heeding a warning that a guy like me gives him, and he was overly careful. And I wanted him to be respectful. I didn't want him to be overly careful. I didn't want him to give her all the leeway that she ended up getting last night. In fact, I wanted him to go after her a lot harder than he did while keeping it respectful. And maybe that's a difficult thing to get done. Maybe that's difficult. I don't know. I don't think it is, but then again, I do it all the time. I have people on who disagree with me all the time, so it doesn't really bother me to, I don't know, to go after somebody while still keeping a smile on my face. It's kind of why I say love you like a brother. Love you like a brother, and then I go after him. I just think that's the right thing to do. I don't know that he's been able to master that yet, and I'm here to tell you he's going to have to next time. Because now there are there's no confusion at all. None whatsoever. We know that the media is going to be on her side. They've now proven that last night in person, live in front of 100 million people. So that's really what he's facing in debate number 2 and debate number 3. Now, I think there should be 6 or 5 or 10 or many more debates than 3. I believe they're having 3 because that's what she wanted. Clearly, he's got the stamina to be out there on the road every day. Somebody sent me, Carrie, a picture from Melbourne, Florida, where he is today at another campaign event.
That is right.
And there's a line a mile long waiting to go see this guy. Is Hillary Clinton on the trail today? I have no idea.
She is. She's in North Carolina today. So she's out there.
Because his numbers just got tighter in North Carolina. Pretty interesting. Let me go to the phone lines and say hello and welcome to line 1's going to be Jake in Minneapolis. Jake, tell me what you thought about last night. Come on.
Hey, Joe. Thank you for having me on.
You bet.
First time calling into a show, but I've been listening to you for a very long time.
Thank you.
So, I like the show. I am going to be on a little bit more of a liberal perspective, but definitely was planning not to vote for either of them before last night.
Okay.
And from my perspective, one thing that I was curious about, I haven't heard anybody say, debates at a high school or college level, when it's an actual debate competition,
Yeah.
those are graded on a winner-loser basis, correct?
I don't know. I think there probably are. I think there's a point system, and then yes, a winner and a loser would be claimed afterwards. Yes.
Yeah, I would have been curious to get a perspective from somebody who maybe does, grade debates to see what. I haven't heard anything but just partisan on either side. Trump won. You've actually been as obviously as even keeled about it as anybody I've heard. But the one thing that really struck me, where I do think, in my opinion, I can't not vote against him, has to do with his comments towards women and overweight people that he made in front of 100 million people.
Well, I'm not sure I follow. You just said I can't not vote for him, which means that you have to vote for him. I don't think you. I don't think you said that right.
What I mean to say is, I was not planning to vote either of them.
Right, but you just said
now
now you can't not vote for him, which means that you have to vote for him. So I think you use a double negative in the wrong way. So what you're saying is his comments on women and his comments on the 400-pound guy on his bed, that bothered you.
It does. I mean, there's a probably 30 to 40% of our population that's overweight. That's a whole other problem on its own. But that's really, I mean, where I'm coming from, watching as somebody who didn't know a ton about him before the debate, I didn't watch the primaries. He doesn't seem like a nice guy. And maybe that shouldn't matter, but it does. I mean, it seems like he's out to pump up his ego, and that is going to come before his caring for the policies and the American people. Now, I know people will say the same thing on the other side, and I was going into it kind of thinking that alone, but it just, from my perspective, he seems like he doesn't like the majority of people.
Well, Jake, I'm going to be, listen, I love you like a brother, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you as you've been with me. I think that the thought process that you take with you through your life is the major problem we face in America today. Now, hear me out. You have a problem with a man because of how he makes you feel. You feel like he's not nice. You feel like he cares about himself. You feel like he's stroking his own ego. Well, let me fill you in. He's got a beautiful wife, a beautiful family. He's got billions and billions of dollars, and I think his ego is probably as big as it's going to get. He doesn't need his ego stroked by you or me or by the voters or by Hillary Clinton. He doesn't need to be president. He's going to be fine if he's not president. So taking that into account, I think that a guy like that is so much more attractive than a career politician, because he doesn't need it. He really, really wants it, because I believe that he believes in this country and in our way of life. And when it comes to the 400-pound guy on the bed, that reference was like to the people I make on Twitter all the time. There's some Twitter badass that'll write me something who's probably 400 pounds and hasn't left his house in a while. Now, it's not an insult. It's the truth. A 400-pound hacker could have hacked into her email. We don't know who hacked into the email. That was the reference. And all the questions about what he said to women, and I got to let you go because there's a weird echo here, but I appreciate you. The comments that he said about women were when he was a reality TV show star, and Rosie O'Donnell attacked him and his hair and how he looks, and she made fun of his look. Who did this? And did the hair flip on television. And Donald Trump is a guy who, if there's one thing he needs to learn, in my not very humble opinion, is how to take an insult and not feel like you have to give it back. It was like the Mongo story I told yesterday. If I didn't give it back, I would have still had the people on my side. When I gave it back, I turned into the aggressor, and it became different. They're using against Donald Trump his responses to people, to women generally, when they've attacked him. Maybe he shouldn't have done it. Maybe it's okay that he does do it. But the idea that you've made your decision about who he is and how he feels about women, knowing that he's got women who are in very high levels in his company, and knowing that he's got a daughter and a wife and so on, 2 daughters and a wife. Here's a guy, it's a sister that he loves very much. Here's a guy that you can't really make the decision about unless you have some insight that I don't know about. So I understand why you feel that way, but I'm here to tell you, stop feeling and start paying attention and start listening. Back after this on the Joe Pags Show.